Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. Today on the EmpowerDis podcast is my lovely colleague, Ash, who runs her own coaching practice across careers. My name is Ellen. I am a person in a wheelchair. How I identify is she, her. And I am of Asian descent. I have short black hair, about shoulder length, and I'm brown skinned, but welcome today. Welcome everyone for being here. Yeah, welcome, Ash. It's so good to see you.
Yeah,
Do you
it's
want to,
great to see you too.
yeah. Do you want to start off by introducing yourself?
Yeah, of course. So, hi everyone. My name's Ash Cross. Like Ellen said, my business is Across Careers. I specialize in career coaching and graduate admissions coaching. I use they, them, and she, her pronouns. I'm non binary. I'm also ADHD and have a traumatic brain injury. Visually, I have brown pixie hair. I am white. I have slightly rose tinted glasses on, which help with my headaches. And I'm wearing a black shirt and a beige cardigan.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Thank you so much. It's wonderful having you here. To start things off, because as you know, this podcast is to spotlight businesses, individuals who are thriving in today's world, either through careers or just flat out helping to move the dialogue forward. So I'd love to hear a little bit about you and your beginnings and what brought you to where you are now.
My original background's in mental health counseling. So I went to graduate school for a degree in mental health counseling with the intent of becoming licensed. Being that I'm neurodivergent, I had some challenges in my graduate program, especially around the pathology related to diagnoses. So I had a meltdown in one of my classes and basically was told go part time and go into trauma therapy or leave the program. So during that time, I was a graduate assistant over in the career services office and absolutely loved it and begged them to hire me full time. Taking my program part time allowed me to do that. And then I worked in higher education for the bulk of my career, so about 12 years, most of the time in career services. And I've worked with community college students, private liberal arts students. Most recently, I worked at Carnegie Mellon with engineering and computational finance majors, specifically grad students. And really, I've worked with a variety of careers, everything from massage therapists to nurses to PhDs trying to find something after graduation to folks with anywhere from 5 to 20 years trying to change industries. So I specialize in particular with folks who are neurodivergent career changers and have nonlinear career paths. Most of my clients also typically have some sort of disability. So the need for remote work isn't just a luxury, it's a need.
Mhm.
And then I also help people who are trying to get into graduate school. So
Nice.
some of my clients I work with kind of on just their applications, but other clients I'm actually working with for 12 to 16 months to really focus on the upskilling and intention behind grad school. So they know what they're getting into and they want those outcomes. And another piece is a lot of my students are international.
So, can you tell me a little bit about? I mean, that's great that you work with clients with various disabilities and also those who are entering grad school and making sure they're set up either in the US or internationally. That's amazing. Can you tell me a little bit about what made you start your own coaching practice? How did Across Careers come about?
Yeah. Well, when I was in career services in graduate school, like I said, I loved it. So I volunteered to do presentations for my program and offered to do resumes. Really, after grad school in Florida, it takes you between 2 to 5 years to get licensed by completing clinical face-to-face hours with clients. Across Careers came about by me trying to get client hours and playing by the rules. We had to have a licensed mental health counselor on campus or on site. I had to have supervision. I really was trying to use this along with 2 to 3 part-time jobs
Wow,
in
that's a lot.
addition to my full-time higher ed career. And then the pandemic hit right after I got in office and got my LLC. Florida didn't decide on their policy around virtual mental health, so my time ran out. And I decided then that I like career counseling and career coaching better than mental health. And I applied for a role at Carnegie Mellon and got it, and left from Florida to Pittsburgh. And Cross Careers came back because I had been freelancing that whole time as well, working with career changers. And I started to develop these niches in STEM at Carnegie Mellon
Mm.
with a following, and started getting resumes pretty frequently from big finance, big consulting firms. So I decided, okay, well, let me go ahead and do this full time.
Yeah.
Another thing was after I left Carnegie Mellon, I was trying to get into something that was more friendly toward my disability.
Hmm.
And so I got an admin job at a therapy practice. But no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't master the seven insurance
Mm.
portals and the billing. I like talking to the therapist way more than any other aspect of the job. So that was also a push to open my business full time, was because I was working with therapists at the time who also wanted to change careers.
When you're working with our population of people who they're more than qualified and they have some health issues, what have you learned through your own experience that you bring forward to clients in terms of coaching them through this?
Dang, that's a good question. But I love good questions so much in my own disability journey. And so when I work with the disabilities, I especially work with the invisible disabilities.
Mm.
So that might be chronic illness, that might be cancer, that might be, for me, again, traumatic brain injury. So for a lot of these, and neurodivergence can sometimes be categorized as disability, kind of depending on how that person perceives it.
Hmm.
So I've noticed there are common stories that they face in their career. So of the wrong boss or the wrong environment, basically forcing them to gaslight themselves every day to go into work, and feeling gaslit by
Hmm.
everyone else because it's so hard for them, and nobody else sees the effort put behind everything. And like being ADHD, like I said, with the therapy admin job, I tried my hardest
Hmm.
to focus, and I just couldn't no matter what. And it
Hmm.
felt dumb. Like I could see what I was supposed to do, see the to do list, but I couldn't like execute on it. And I've also been in roles with the wrong boss. And so the wrong environment, the wrong supervisor, the wrong role, wrong industry or location too. Like any of those really mess us up when we have disabilities
Hmm.
and neurodivergence. And society doesn't even register that.
Hmm.
And it's so incredibly frustrating. That's why we have a higher rate of unemployment. That's why we have a higher rate of getting on PIPs, or personal improvement plans, which is basically like a countdown to getting fired. And that is also why we deal with a lot of burnout and toxicity in the workplace. It's kind of like having a disability is kind of like you have a different phone from everybody else. And this phone, sometimes it's on full battery or at 80%, sometimes at 60%, even though you charge it every night. There are so many apps going on in the background that other people don't see. So, regular tasks like driving, picking up your kids, going to work, doing self care, cooking, any of that, like those are the apps that are draining our battery faster than others. And then on top of that, it's like because you have a different model phone, you can do some activities really, really well, but you need to be connected to your charger. You need to be as full as you can. And so when you don't have your charger, other people keep offering theirs. Like, here's my phone charger. Why don't you use it? Sorry,
Hmm.
I have a different model phone.
Hmm.
Back and forth and back and forth. They keep offering, and you get frustrated because you can't take it. It doesn't
Hmm.
work.
Hmm.
and then they naturally like forget about it because they are not seeing it on a day-to-day basis.
Right.
They get frustrated, you get frustrated, they start kind of blaming you for your inability to do these tasks.
Right. Right.
That's kind of how I feel about accommodations too.
Yeah. Understood. So, how have you coached your clients around that?
Yeah, I'm very much a practical person and a blunt
Hmm.
person.
Hmm.
So I get angry on behalf of my clients, especially if they're not somebody to feel like they can't and express emotion. I
Okay.
go ahead and normalize what they're going through. That's a big thing.
Mm.
And then also reminding them that it's not their fault, that we really do need that combination of the right role, the right supervisor, the right employer
Hmm.
in order to thrive in the workplace. And that is so hard to find. And
Hmm.
it's not that we have one role or one particular perfect spot. It's about seeing like what type of roles and how we can articulate our story to make sense in a neurotypical world to neurotypical employers.
Hmm.
So we do a lot around like positioning our story in a coherent way, but also like clarifying what exactly we're looking for.
Mm.
Like I created a neuro inclusive career assessment, and I love it because I've done all the career assessments on the market, and it pisses me off how not practical they are. When you're neurodivergent, you have certain communication needs, right? You have certain energy needs and certain environmental needs and interaction needs too. And other career assessments, they say, okay, you're interested in artistic stuff, go be a dancer or go
Mhm.
be a preschool teacher. And it's
Mhm.
like, that is so frustrating and dumb and not helpful. And so my framework is really about let's find clarity on what you want and what you don't
Mhm.
first and foremost, and then try to figure out what are the jobs that align with that.
That's so, yeah,
Yeah.
that's so great. I love how you say what you love and what you don't, because I feel a lot of times we miss what we don't want.
Mhm.
So fantastic. Can you tell me a little bit about what can people expect to gain after finishing your assessment?
Yeah. The other half of the assessment, I've got a second piece where we look at transferable skills and
Mm.
exactly what we just said, like what you love, what you don't, and what you're
Mhm.
curious about, even. And then it walks you through how to use generative AI to start researching these careers. So often, as a result of this, they have, in an ideal situation, they have 5 careers or at least top 3 that they know the job title, they generally know what they do, and they can continue their research on from there. Most of my clients are ADHD or autistic. So, a lot of times after the career assessment, the next logical step is to meet with me and we do the AI part together
Mm.
to make sure that it's tailored for their needs and their learning style. If you don't do prompts in a certain way, you're going to get overloaded with information. So that is kind of what people get from those assessments. Often it's not necessarily like, aha, I didn't realize that. Often it's, that's what that sounds like, or that's how I define it. Because I knew that about myself. I didn't know it was called that, or I didn't know I could put that on my resume.
Great. That's fantastic. And you primarily work within a certain niche, is that right?
I've
It's
got a couple.
yeah, it's called quantifiable finance.
Quantitative finance, that's correct.
Yes, it's called quantitative finance. Perfect. Can you tell me a little bit about quantitative finance and what it is?
Yeah. So my first job at Carnegie Mellon was working with the computational finance program. Quantitative finance, those are interchangeable. Basically, I like to think of them as the programmers and statisticians of Wall Street.
Mm.
So they're the ones creating the predictive models related to the stock market. They are the ones assessing risk, or creating the systems to make the trades, or creating the dashboards for traders and clients to be able to use to make investment decisions. So it's really a nice combination of the technical skills that I see so often in my neurodivergent clients of, okay, we've got programming, math, stats, machine learning, or AI or data science, any of those, kind of lump them together in my head. And then finance. So a lot of them are really strong in two of those categories and then looking to grad school to improve the other categories. Or they're coming from a finance background and they're realizing I'm really bored at my job. I want to
Mhm.
do something more interesting and intellectually challenging.
Fantastic. So would you say, because in my previous role, I used to work a lot with people in the tech industry
Mm-hmm.
who maybe they have a diagnosis, maybe they don't, but they know how to do all those things technically.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of, in your opinion, I mean, how easy is it if you have that type of mathematical viewpoint?
Mm-hmm.
How easy is it to transfer to the financial space?
Mm-hmm.
Is it, maybe I'm answering my own question, but I have all this knowledge, I have these tendencies, but I don't know what position to pick for myself or what role to pick for myself.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
that's definitely a specialty of mine in quant finance as well, is to
Mm,
help them better understand. Not that I'm the best expert on it or anything, but I learned very quickly and I've reviewed thousands of job descriptions in this area. But it's very difficult to break into quantitative finance
mhm,
in that the competition is fierce, the market's saturated, but also the level of math, programming, and statistics, the level of that is extremely high.
mm,
So a handful of my clients are kind of like piecing together their own degree just to be able to get into grad school or just to be able to get in the door. But there are other roles in finance that are more, we kind of call them fundamental or basic. So that might be accounting, that might be a different kind of analyst role, that those kind of finance roles, people who have a math background who don't want to do like 3 4 rounds of calculus
mhm.
coursework, that might be kind of better suited for them.
Do you work with those type of clients or do you refer out?
Good question. For the most part, I don't work with those clients, and they don't really seek me out either because I'm so clear on the quantitative finance niche.
Hmm.
But if I do get them, I might refer them out,
Hmm.
or I'd take kind of that career change approach that I use with all majors and all careers
Hmm.
in terms of helping them identify, okay, what is the role that's right for me?
Mm.
Let's look at job descriptions and the job demand to double check, is this something I'm going to enjoy? Or is this something I'm going to regret going into? And then how do I break into it? So while fundamental finance isn't my specialty, I don't necessarily need to refer out. I can, but I'd still take an approach to try to help them.
Right. So you have essentially two different audiences, if
Hmm.
you will, that you work with. You work with
Hmm.
those with diagnoses, maybe deciding which degree, where do they want to go with their
Hmm.
job search. And then you have that very niche demographic of, of, I'm sorry,
We can say quant finance.
quant finance. Thank you. Quant finance that you work with. Thank you so much. I
Yeah,
should have.
no, everybody calls it quant or quant
Good.
finance.
Yes, quant. Yeah. So there's quant finance, and then your other demographic that.
Half of them are trying to get into grad school, half of them are trying to move around within finance themselves. The third population I work with are the therapists who want out of patient care niches.
That's fantastic. And then you also have that therapeutic
Hmm.
demographic as well.
Yes.
A lot of good offerings there. For sure. No, seriously, a lot of good offerings. What would you tell your three? I mean, we'll start with the neurodivergent audience.
Hmm.
So, because this is EmpowerDis. Um, so what would you tell um, the neurodivergent population, job seekers? What would you want them to know?
Yeah.
If one thing. Like the top thing you would like them to know.
I never do one thing.
Okay,
Okay,
what if
but
we did the top three things? There
okay,
we go.
that'll work.
Yes.
One, this job market absolutely sucks. It is not you. I'm having even very strong clients having to apply for 100 roles. Just the level of competitiveness there. If you're applying for more than 100 roles and you're not hearing back, or you're getting frustrated and burned out in general or ghosted, look at your results. That is the other big thing in terms of how far are you getting? Is the resume getting you that initial screening? Once you get that initial screening, are any of them converting into interviews? Because each step in the process is going to tell you something. And maybe it's not your resume, maybe it's you're applying for the wrong jobs because you're trying to apply for everything. And then the other piece is don't underestimate the power of networking in this market. I know neurodivergents, we hate networking. We hate the idea of going into a room and schmoozing, and it's crowded, it's sensory overload, all that. But I actually teach a different kind of networking that really has helped me thrive over the years between the pandemic and then also working in public relations jobs and campus partnership type of roles. So I really kind of focus on, okay, what are our hangups around networking and how can we work around those with what we're naturally interested in? So leaning into networking, knowing the job search sucks right now, and then looking at your results in the job search. So tracking where you are in the process.
And I like what you said about, what is, how far are you getting? And I like how you said that maybe it's the roles that you're applying to, which brings it back to why it's so important to not only say what you want, but what you don't want.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because if you're saying, oh, well, I can't do that, or oh, I can learn that on the job, that's not going to cut it.
Hmm.
And if you're going with the resume that shows what you have always done, you're only going to hear back from those jobs. You have to really work with a coach or work with a resume writer to get clear on how to position yourself so you can do a career change and get what you want rather than what you've always done. So there were two clients last year that came to mind. Honestly, I love career coaching and I love it over counseling. I did trauma counseling because I was in so much trauma counseling myself. I love career coaching because there's an aha moment in almost every session.
Hmm.
And it lights them up and it motivates them after we've been able to solve a problem together.
Hmm.
But one client last year, she was a former therapist. She was trying to move out of the therapy area and into healthcare tech.
Hmm.
So we were comparing two jobs, something related to working with customers and working with the tech itself, and then something that was on the highly technical side. So we were comparing like a product manager type of role to like a customer success or onboarding type of. So looking at those two job descriptions and comparing them and seeing what she wanted, what she didn't want, that
Mm.
was really eye-opening for her. After she was able to identify that, she was able to network her way over a month, kind of like a spree, into 7 interviews in a week for 3 different roles, getting to the second round for each, and then transferred into healthcare tech about a month and a half later. Yeah, and in this job market, right?
Yeah.
And then
Seven.
yeah,
Yeah.
and then she's making 6 figures in the new field and working from home. So I'm thrilled. But
Hmm.
like we couldn't even focus on tech. We had to really focus on healthcare tech and specifically even her type of therapy, like
Hmm.
working with people with her background in getting them onboarded to this technology. So we got hyper specific there.
Yeah.
Another big aha moment, or two of them, kind of have been my really frank conversations around grad school. I
Mm.
had a really strong professional who has years of experience working with certain financial products. And he mentioned he wanted to go to grad school, and we really assessed why. And I told him, frankly, you don't need grad school.
Mhm.
You are ahead of the curve and ahead of what's happening in the market right now. but I believe you have the ability to pitch yourself in a way to make an opportunity for yourself. And so learning to pitch yourself is what you need. And he's actually a vice president working with his financial products now. And another student I worked with who's trying to get into grad school, we had some really challenging conversations around, okay, where's your portfolio at? Your materials are fantastic, but the presentation's not where it needs to be. And we shouldn't be targeting these programs with how competitive they are. So those aha moments with my clients, especially like those ones come to mind.
And I mean, these are great examples. Thank you. Thank you for all of this. With all three examples, it's really not about the outcome, right? It's about, I mean, these are wonderful outcomes, but really this is what you offer. This is someone in the trenches, because none of us are perfect. None of us are perfect by ourselves. The journey points out what we need to go into the direction we want.
Mhm.
So if it's looking at your have do nots and looking at it with a wonderful with a coach, and to pare that down and to see your strengths, but not only your strengths, because even if you're strong, someone can help you refine it to make it even better, or even if it's just the aha of what could be done better, that in itself, that gives you information. So it's not that you're not perfect, it's not that a person doesn't have a great portfolio, it's how can we frame it so that people see what you have to offer.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so, one of the reasons I work in grad admissions, I forgot to mention, is I was on an admissions committee for that computational finance program at Carnegie Mellon. So, I served on the admissions committee, hearing the different point of views on different candidates. So, that gave me the insight to be able to share with people like what gets in, what doesn't, what you need to upskill, and to what degree. But exactly, like really honing in on what you want, what you don't. And then also, how do we present that to your audience? So being very aware of what your audience is looking for.
And these are skills not just for the job, not just for the
Mhm.
graduate program, but these are skills that will carry you throughout your life.
Mhm.
So I know we all have an adversity to corporate speak or what have you, but when you're in front of a committee, or when you're in front of the person that's going to get you the promotion, these are phrases and keywords that we all understand. So it's learning the language so that people can understand and they can advocate for you.
Mhm.
Yeah. And I love that you've been on the other side of the table, because that's also something that you bring specifically. It's not just what you've learned as an IC, but what you've seen being part of a team and making those decisions.
Exactly. And at CMU, I also helped recruiters like find the right candidates, and
Mhm.
then was in some hiring teams as well. So trying to bring those perspectives and really line up people's expectations with reality, that's really important.
Fantastic. Fantastic. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put your website and your details in the description. But is there anything else you want to let our audience know of job seekers, of people just with disabilities and diagnoses figuring out what they want to do? What words would you like to give them?
You're not alone. Like that
Mm.
is the biggest thing, because
Mhm.
in the workplace, like other people act like it's just normal
Mhm.
and it's just how things are, but not all of us can survive in hospitality or in fast food or retail or anything. And it's not your fault. It's not just you. That's one of the biggest things. And then find your champions. So find the people who really light you up and support you. That has been incredibly crucial for me as somebody who works fully remote and who's neurodivergent and disabled. Owning my own business is I have a huge cheerleading squad and I talk with them regularly so I don't get in my head. And so find your champions. And if you don't have them, maybe let's talk and we can help you identify some opportunities to connect with people, to cultivate those champions if they don't already exist.
Fantastic. And part of the reasons why I have this podcast and why I wanted to speak together is because to know that there are people, professionals, and thriving professionals out there that have been in similar spaces. So we are, a lot of people say, well, there's only one or two people with disabilities. Obviously, that's not true. Okay.
Right.
So just look, we're all out there. And even if it's just saw, like coming to Ash and saying, I saw you on this podcast or I saw your posting. Please don't feel like you're bothering people you don't know because we've been in your shoes, so to speak. And, you know, the more we come together, the more we support each other, the, the, the greater support is going to be out there and it's going to be mainstream.
Hmm.
So yes.
I I
Yeah.
want to add something there because I
Mhm,
think that's so incredibly important too.
mhm.
Um, some of the younger generations aren't really on social media, but for me, Instagram has been incredibly validating for me with ADHD to better understand what that looks like on a day to day basis, what my challenges have been that I haven't been able to name this whole time. And then in Facebook, being part of Facebook groups for my concussion, for my traumatic brain injury, I'm 5 years out and I'm still experiencing symptoms, and I'm able to give advice, but I'm also able to be reminded like, hey, I'm not alone in facing these migraines or these headaches. And so social media can be used for good as a way of finding your support, but also again, like, your support can look so many different ways. It doesn't have to be social media, it doesn't have to be your family or your coworkers. It just requires a bit of creativity and a bit of talking with someone about what that looks like.
And even reaching out to, because a lot of times we feel like, um, you know, how do you ask the question? You don't, one of my friends who is neurodivergent, by the way, I was trying to get in touch with her for a month and I finally did. And I asked her a question that was very pressing. And then she says, you know, you can reach out to me at any time and say, hey, I'm going through something. Can I speak to you for a moment? But just letting the person know that you're going through something. It's okay to your start your reach out like that. I'm going through something. Can we talk? You know, you don't have to be polite and say, I'm just looking for people to talk to. No, you can say, I'm feeling lonely right now.
Hmm.
I just got this diagnosis and I need someone to talk it through. Do you have a moment?
Hmm.
You know, it's
Yeah.
okay to say that.
And the neurodivergent and disabled community, I feel like we get that more than others. So we're hopefully not as harsh on others.
Yeah.
Like if my friend doesn't respond to a text,
Mm.
I get it. We both have ADHD, so it's like you'll respond when you have capacity. I'm not
Yes,
worried.
exactly. Exactly. That too. That too. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Ash. Thank you for joining me today. And thank you, everyone, for joining us today.
Yeah, thank
Yeah.
you everyone. Thank you,
Thank you.
Ellen.
Take care.
Bye.